spoiler alert, you won't understand it. All that and more as we get up with you starting right now on a Thursday, plus the continued fallout from the baseball, plus Heather and Paul will be along in just a minute on the very latest from the Big Ten, where they have got trouble. All that and more on the way. But we begin with a huge weekend in the NFL. Kicks off tonight. Falcons and Panthers get the weekend started. And then Sunday, so much at stake as the Cowboys visit the Eagles. As hard as it is to believe, the winner will be in first place in the NFC East. So it matters a lot. So does this. NFC West leading Seahawks 5-1, hosting the 4-3 49ers, who are a game back of all the wildcard teams in the NFC. The NFC West, the most competitive division in the sport. Then the 2-4 Pats at the first place Bills. Bill Belichick hasn't started a season 2-5 since his first year with the Patriots quarterback. And then showdown, Steelers, Ravens, highest combined win percentage in the series history between these two teams. Here's Big Ben on this big rivalry.
It's a physical one. It can be nasty at times, but I've always felt as many times as my nose has been broke, we've had injuries. It's been a close game. It's always been football in its truest form, in the sense that it's never dirty. It's never been nasty. It's just been hard-nosed football. And so this is one you always want your bye week to be after.
It's interesting that he puts it that way because their bye week was shifted. The Ravens have a bye leading into this game. The Steelers were supposed to, but that got moved around because of the coronavirus changes. And look who's here. The squad is ready to go. Dominique is here. Damien Woody. Adam Schefter is up early this morning, and we will get Louis Riddick in just a minute. But Dominique, let's start with that. The fact that the Ravens have a bye and the Steelers don't. Is that a bigger advantage for Baltimore in your view, physically or in terms of preparation?
Yeah, I think getting that rest is certainly nice and it makes you feel good and you're a little bit healthier going into the game. But I think it's more important for preparation-wise. I rewatched that game last night and I saw so many coaching changes on both offense and defense on both sides throughout the course of the game. It was one of the more cerebral games that I've watched from last season. So I think the Ravens having the opportunity to put a little bit more effort into their preparation, I think is more benefit to the Ravens for their preparation than it is for them physically how they feel going on the field.
Yeah, the Steelers, the last unbeaten team in the NFL. The Ravens sort of flying under the radar since they got handled by Kansas City, but this would certainly put them right back in everybody's conversation. D. Wood, as you look ahead to this one, what's a matchup you're looking for?
Greeny, I know you and Shefty and Neek want to talk about the skill people, but this is about the big boys, the big dogs in the trenches. Every time you talk about the Pittsburgh, the Steelers, Ravens rivalry, it always comes down to the pass rushes and the offensive line. And when you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, everything starts with T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree. Can the Baltimore Ravens keep this guy off of Lamar Jackson? Because they're going to have their hands full with this dynamic duo coming off the edge for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, Shefty, it's an interesting note because one would think with the history of this rivalry and all the times they've gone back and forth, you sent me a very interesting note about this game that I think a lot of people may not realize.
It's amazing. We are in Lamar Jackson's third NFL season, and this will be the first time that he's ever started a game where Ben Roethlisberger has been the starting quarterback for the other team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so it'll be the first time that Ben and Lamar square up. It has not happened before in this rivalry, which is hard to imagine. It just has not worked out to where they've both been on the field at the same time. Ben's been hurt. Lamar hasn't been in the lineup. It just hasn't worked. But this will be the first time that the Ravens quarterback for the next decade plus and the Steelers quarterback for the last decade plus will meet in a game. They square off and start against each other for the first time, Greeny.
Yeah, it does. It feels a little bit like the past of the division meeting the future of the division, and we'll find out who the present of the division is on Sunday. And Dominique, I know you have some tape that you put together for us looking ahead to this game.
Yeah, I think the Steelers did a great job against Lamar Jackson's Ravens last year. They wanted to blitz early to stop the run and play zone and take away the middle of the field against pass. Here it is, that inside dive-in blitz. They have someone to be accountable for the running back, someone accountable for the quarterback. They did that all game on early downs, and it shut it down. And as far as the passing attack, they didn't blitz as much as they tried to take over the middle of the field because that's where Lamar likes to do his work. So there, you see all these numbers around one tight end in the middle field that caused an interception. They did it so often that eventually Lamar and the Ravens adjusted and started to attack the outside of the field, which we all know is not where Lamar is most comfortable. So they took away that middle. They forced the outside pass. and another turnover there by the Steelers. If they're able to stop the run by blitzing on early downs and take away the middle of the field with zone coverage on second and third downs, I think that the Steelers have a good chance to do what Damien said and let those big boys up front get after Lamar Jackson and really slow this Ravens attack.
And on the flip side, we've spent a lot of this season, Damien Woody, talking about how the Ravens offense just hasn't looked like that record-setting group of a year ago. What do you need to see from Lamar Jackson if he's going to beat the unbeaten Steelers on Sunday?
Well, listen, I think, Dominique kind of alluded to it. He so much of the Ravens passing game is in between the numbers with the tight ends, but I need to see some explosive plays down the field. For me, that's the one area that of concern I have with Lamar Jackson, seeing those 20-plus pass plays down the field to exploit things, especially with an aggressive defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers have. Because once you hit those type of plays, Greeny, guess what? Defensive coordinators start thinking and start changing up what they want to do defensively. So they need those explosive plays on the outside.
I believe I'm being told that Louis Riddick is ready to join us now. We've been having some trouble, technical difficulties getting him set today, but I think I'm being told that Louis is ready to go. He is indeed. Louis Riddick, we wish you a good morning and glad to see you as always on our Thursdays. And we're talking about Steelers-Ravens. Just a quick thought on this game. We've gone through a couple of the matchups. Shefty mentioned it's actually the first time that Roethlisberger and Lamar Jackson will start head-to-head against each other. Where do you see the edge in a game that could go a long way towards deciding one of the most competitive divisions in the sport?
Yeah, I think this is interesting because I think, with Baltimore, they really need to find their identity on the offensive side of the ball and really be able to both run it and for Lamar to be able to continue to develop as a passer. And I just don't know if they have what's necessary to deal with right now, just from an efficiency standpoint, a Pittsburgh team that's hitting on all cylinders. Look, Pittsburgh right now has the running game and the passing game in particular, provided that Deontay Johnson is 100%, to really light it up against anyone. And then defensively, we know is a team that can get after the passer. They can turn the football over in the back end. They have great ball hawks back there. So it's a team that right now you'd have to give them like the 1 or 2 spot in the AFC. So this is a big game for both teams, but in particular Baltimore matching up against one of their toughest rivals.
No question. Okay, that's just one of many really interesting games on the schedule this weekend. Staying in the division, we turn our attention to Cleveland in the AFC North, where Baker Mayfield has been named the AFC's Offensive Player of the Week after he threw 5 touchdowns against Cincinnati. He had most of that success after Odell Beckham Jr. got hurt in the game, and now we know Odell is done for the year. Mayfield was asked yesterday about the adjustments he has to make without his star receiver. Here's what he said.
Without him, there might not be as many one-on-one opportunities, but that means we just have to be more efficient in the zone coverages and things like that. Teams are going to play us differently. So I think it's about, just understanding the looks we're getting and going through our offense based on the looks.
Now look, losing a talent like Odell Beckham is obviously hard to absorb, but we've shown you these numbers. Without him on the field, Baker Mayfield completing nearly 80% of his passes with a near-perfect QBR when targeting all other receivers. Both of those figures would by far lead the league. So let's start with the easy part. Well, not easy, but let me start with Adam Schefter on this if I can. Schefter, is there any conversation that you're aware of out there for the Browns looking to make some kind of move to replace Odell or bring in some sort of help in advance of the trade deadline on Tuesday?
No, I think, in fact, people forget that they have some good, talented, young wide receivers. Rashard Higgins has been very productive in that offense for Cleveland. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught the game-winning touchdown pass on Sunday. They have a tight end, Harrison Bryant, who was one of the most impressive offensive players that they had during training camp, somebody that they have a lot of belief in. So I don't see the Browns going out and going to acquire some wide receiver. Again, that could always change. If there's a value, a deal to be had, maybe they make it. But I can tell you this, I think they believe in the young players they have on the offensive side of the football. But I also should point out, Greeny, not only is Odell Beckham Jr. out for the year, but Jarvis Landry has been playing through a lot of pain this year. Hip injuries, rib injuries. It's been something that has really slowed him down. So you're without Beckham, you're with a hobble Landry, and now you're reliant upon these other young receivers who they really believe in right now.
And again, they've been playing without Nick Chubb for quite some time as well. So a lot of injury concerns there. Meanwhile, let's shift it back to the real conversation here, which is about the absence of Odell Beckham Jr. Dominique, without him on the field, we've talked a lot about how Baker spreads the ball out. He goes through his progressions, all the rest of that. So does it make it as a defender harder or easier to prepare for the Browns with no Odell?
I mean, I think it's much easier to prepare for them because